Do you feel like your self confidence has been hurt or it gets hurt quite regularly? Well, today I'm going to talk about some mistakes to avoid in order to not knock your confidence and what you can do about it. And if you stay until the end, I have an extra point for you then as well. Now, through my life, I've had some ups and downs, right, with my confidence. But the downs sometimes are serious downs. And we're like, I'm not worthy of doing this or that. And what I mean by confidence personally is the trust I have in myself. And when I get knocked in my confidence in one thing, it can impact on my confidence in other things because of some of my self talk. And I start to notice some patterns of things that actually really have drained my confidence. Now, obviously, we're only human. If something doesn't go the way we want, or we get like a bad reaction off someone or something like that, then it's always going to knock our confidence. There's three things though that I personally seen in my life that I've done that's really damaged it even more. And it's a pattern I've seen in other people. And I've also coached in this area as well. And I can see some of the behaviors that really knock people's confidence. Now, I was knocked a lot with my confidence in kind of workplace environments, a lot like people being unhappy in some of my work or being rejected by jobs, and I really internalized that. I really felt, oh, I'm not very good at this, or I'm useless, and that links to our self-esteem. Self-esteem is a relationship we have with ourselves, and we've got good self-esteem, which is how much we like ourselves. It's going to impact our confidence, where we're more likely to bounce back. We're not going to have those negative patterns. Yet when something doesn't go our way, it can be hard. Now, confidence, as I say, is trust in ourselves. And it's usually specific to something. And if you do these things I'm going to mention, it's really going to damage your confidence in any area. Now, I want to ask you this. Are you finding yourself in the same patterns again and again with your like knocking your confidence? Like maybe you speak negatively to yourself, maybe you internalize things too much. I've certainly been there, right? Well, how's it going to help you continuing that same pattern? Because it could, you're not going to make a change unless you are able to start making new habits, new actions moving forward. So, here are three things that I want to identify that have really damaged my confidence and I see damage other people's confidence and what you can do about it. So the first one is when you don't say what you're going to, you let me say that again. When you don't do what you said you were going to do, that is quite damaging. Now, I've got this terrible habit I've had in the past of just like bombarding myself with too much to do. And I got frustrated with myself. I got annoyed because I overloaded myself. It's better to start small and do something you can be consistent with rather than put too much and then not hit it. I personally find because when you say, and also if you say you're going to get up on a certain time, you don't, that knocks the trust in yourself. Think about it. If you're meeting a friend and you were like to that friend, I'm going to meet you at this time, I'm going to meet you at this time, I'm going to meet you at this time in a different locations, whatever. And then the first time, maybe you were late or you didn't show up. How would that friend feel? They probably wouldn't trust you. Do it a second time, they're really not going to trust you. And then the third time, you're gone. Like that relationship is too damaged. Okay. And actually, even the first or second time, for people who've got like a high level of respect, they probably would, question it there. And you probably even get to the third time. Right. So the same for yourself. If you've got that relationship with yourself and you don't turn up for you, that can really damage your confidence. So set yourself a target and then do it, right? Because else, and then if you realize actually this is a bit too much for me, that's okay. Congratulate yourself for your efforts and then make sure you put something that's a bit more sustainable whilst pushing yourself at the same time. The second thing I noticed that really knocks people's confidence and really hurt mine is just hanging out with negative people. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean toxic people who are going to shout abuse at you. Obviously, you want to be away from them 100% as much as possible. What I'm talking about specifically is people who just don't have that good energy, who constantly are like negative. They just don't feel good. And yeah, they just constantly bringing their bad energy to you. Okay. So that's the second thing I see, because you will adapt your environment. If you hang out with negative people all the time, you cannot expect to feel positive and confident about yourself. Then the third, and what you can do about that, is then start looking for what you want, and then start finding groups and things you're interested in. We've got a huge opportunity of activities to do, particularly in the UK. Now, I don't know where you're listening from, but look at opportunities where you can go and find groups of people who've got like positive mind. I love doing things that are in personal growth. So I try and do as many things in that area as much as possible. And then the third mistake I see in terms of people really knocking their confidence is over criticizing and under praising. It may sound obvious, but we can get into an automatic habit and just don't pay attention to it. So what I mean by this is, I've been terrible with this in the past. Like when I didn't do something to the standard I wanted to, I'd be like, oh, you're so useless. You're so rubbish, right? And that's going to knock your confidence. Imagine when you're saying these things, imagine like you're talking to yourself. Imagine you're talking to a child, and then imagine how they feel, because that's how you're talking to yourself, because you've got that inner child within you. So if you find yourself criticizing yourself, okay, it's going to take some practice, but then apologize to yourself and say, it's okay, you did your best, right? And I would schedule in some time every day to just kind of be aware of this, like a little bit of journaling, being aware. And then under praising this, I made this as one, but it's kind of two parts. Under praising, like, especially as achievers in the world, and I'm like a recovering achiever, whereby we're like, we've got to achieve, and it's like, I won't be happy until I've done that. Well, one of my mentors, who's one of the best high performance specialists on the planet, Joseph McClendon, one of the key things out of everything, he's got almost 40 years worth of experience of NLP, hypnotherapy, psychology, all this stuff, coach some of the best people on the planet. One of the key things he always says is praising yourself, as simple as it sounds, right? He says you are going to speed up your process of learning and getting better at any skill by praising, because when you praise yourself, what it does is it pumps more feel-good chemicals into the body, more dopamine, and therefore you're going to feel more good. So therefore you want to do more of that behavior. And then that's therefore going to progress you further, faster. That's also a term he uses. Now, if you're not praising yourself enough, imagine like you had a child, you may have a child, right? And then you were just like not giving them any praise and you're criticizing them all the time. How do you think they feel? Well, you're doing the same to yourself. So just be aware of that. So that's the 3 mistakes. Now I've got an extra point for you as well. Just before I go on to that, I wanted to mention, if you have a particular topic that you would like to hear about, then all you got to do is go on to the Q&A and then select what you'd like a little bit more of for me to talk about in terms of self-esteem, confidence, or mindset. The final point, the bonus point I want to share with you really is, there's a quote by Jim Rohn, and it goes, be the guard to the door of your mind, one of the great men in personal growth. And this is really about being very aware of what you take in. That kind of links to what I've also covered. Taking in information that is going to uplift you, make you feel good, is also going to help your confidence as well. If you take in information that's going to make you feel miserable and tired and exhausted, then that's going to knock your confidence. So pay attention to what you're reading, what you're listening to. Like listening to podcasts like this one or other ones that uplift you is a great idea. Reading books, I love doing that. I try and get through a book a week. And then, watching motivational YouTube videos, taking in information that's going to make you feel good, that's going to make you grow more, is going to build your confidence as well. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here. You're improving other people's lives by being the best you. And remember, you are in control of your own self-esteem and confidence.